All right. So we're back again. Now let's hope that Instagram Live works because I've seen some friends that today tried it. Let's also make sure that my AirPods connect. Today we're going to have Rob Ritter on, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know Rob Ritter. So once he comes on, we will get him ready to go here. So Rob is a friend of mine from Florida. Hello everybody. Thanks for joining. There's Rob.
Are we
Hey
on?
man,
Hey,
we're
brother.
on. Hey, how's it going?
It's going. So, right up front, Instagram's been crashing all day today. Have you heard?
Yeah, I have. I've seen it when I've been trying to watch other lives, so
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
pray, and if not, we'll reschedule. Let's see.
correct. We'll give it a shot. I think Matt's crashed today, right? With
Yeah,
Bali.
with Brian,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Okay. We'll go as long as we can, and if not, we'll reschedule, right?
that's right. So why don't you introduce yourself first for anybody who may not know you?
Okay. So I'm Rob Ritter. I'm a dentist down in Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Briefly, I grew up in South Florida. I went to college up in Tampa at USF. I went to dental school up in the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston. And I've been practicing here for 27 years. I'm a restorative only dentist. I don't do the crazy great stuff that you do, all the surgery that you're so great at. I marvel at it. I love learning about it. I've never done it. I really haven't.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed at what you can do. But it's so interesting because when you see me work under the rubber dam, if I see a drop of blood, I'm freaking out, right? It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So I've just limited it to restorative dentistry. Whether that was a good move or not, I don't really know. But I think for me, I'm really good at systems, and I
Yeah.
like doing a certain thing every way. And I've got now all these years behind me of doing a
Mm-hmm.
certain way, and it seems to have worked out because I've got longevity in the patients and the restorative work. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that. I've done a lot of CE. I've been through a lot of
Yeah, you sure have.
continuums. Yeah, I have, and part of a lot of academies. And I just love right now at this part of my career is to share with a lot of younger dentists and kind of help them and guide them because it's tricky. Take out what's happening in the world right now. Even
Right.
before that, it's gotten tricky and more complicated, and it's hard to do the right thing these days. My other
Yeah.
friend Bob Margis has a great line. He says, "Look, it's really easy to make a lot of money in dentistry doing the wrong thing. It's
Yep.
really difficult making a lot of money doing the right thing."
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Brian's on. Hey, Brian.
Oh, there he
Um,
is.
you bring up a thing that I've noticed with you recently is you've become kind of this mentor to a lot of millennials or even exennials like me. And you've become a mentor of mine. I wanted to talk about how I first met you guys. So I didn't realize, but when I first met you guys is when we were at Seattle Study Club in Hawaii, and you guys came up to me at dinner and said, "Hey, I'm Chris, I'm Rob. Like, we saw you speak, like your stuff, whatever." And I was like, "Oh, these guys are really cool." Like they were so nice to come up to me. And then I can't remember if it was when we were in Florida last year or whatever, but you said that you guys had actually seen me speak at the AACD the year before, and that
Yes.
was when you first saw me. And it was so cool because at the time I didn't know who you guys were, and I didn't know like you had this successful practice and you were lecturing all over the world and stuff. And I was just like, these are nice guys. And then we became friends, and I started really texting you and Chris a lot on like, hey, what do I do in this case? A lot of times like, advice for speaking and running a business and working with partners and things like that. But it's cool to see you gain this mentor. Um, I don't know what it is. This you
Mantle.
become a mentor.
Mantle.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting path, and thank you for pointing that out. And I clearly remember at the back of the AACD because it was about young speakers,
Right.
And
Yeah.
I
The
had heard,
next,
I
the
forgot
next
what they had.
cosmetic dentistry,
Yeah, it was
something like that.
something like that. And they
Yeah.
got you on the program. And I had heard your name from somebody else, and it's going to come to me because that's how I am. Stream of consciousness, it'll come
Yeah.
through to me. And I went to the back of the room, and within 15 minutes, I said, "Oh wow, this is awesome. He's great, and I can
Thank you.
see already his future." And so then I brought Ramsey into the room because we were walking around because we were
Yeah.
scouts, and I think our meeting was the year after that or something like that, where I ran the
Oh,
AECD's
I see.
for Toronto and and all that. And
Yep.
so, and then right after I said, "Oh, this guy is really sharp, Ramsey." And then we didn't, you disappeared because
Yep.
that's the thing to do. You know, you speak and you run out. And then we caught up with you at Seattle Study Club.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting because, you know, early in our career, in our careers, you have goals, right? And, you know, if you set the bar at mediocre, that's all you'll ever be. And I never wanted to be mediocre. You know, you ever hear the line when you look around the room and you know you don't know who the chump is? It's
Right.
you.
You're the chump. Yeah.
You're the chump. I never wanted to be the chump.
Yeah.
And so I put myself out there and tried to learn as much as I could. And at the same time, not be, and this is for me, for nobody else, I don't like to follow one path. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to gain from this group and from this group and gain knowledge from this group and this group,
Yeah.
and then kind of take it all and distill it down to easy, digestible chunks where we can make
Mm-hmm.
it work in our practice and also share the information with others.
Yeah.
And I think me and my partner, if we're really good at something, it's that. And what's happened from that is the younger dentists now see us as, we've been doing it a long time. I've been doing it 27 years. Me and Chris have been partners for 20. And they gravitate towards that because they see a relationship that's lasted for 20 years.
Which
Where we
doesn't
don't
happen often.
No, which we'll
Yep.
get to that in a second.
Yep.
And then for me, it's helping to guide dentists to do the right thing. And I actually enjoy helping young dentists more than ever in my career.
Yeah.
Because I've realized now, Kyle, it's not about me. It's not about
Right.
me anymore. I'm not a me monster.
Mm-hmm.
I've achieved, the truth is I've kind of achieved what I wanted to in my professional career, without sacrificing my family life. We've had that conversation as well.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot. And I've just determined that it's now time for me, you know, we borrow the profession in a sense, right? We add a little
Right.
bit to it and then we kind of give it back, and it's time for me to give it back. And so
Yeah.
when somebody needs help, I will help them. The problem with it, if there is a problem, is sometimes I'm a little too, I don't want to use the word harsh. I cut through I cut through the nonsense though, and
Yeah.
I call it what it is. And some people, they want the Paula Abdul approach, you know, the seal clap
Right.
of you're great, and it just doesn't work like that in life. So sometimes
Yeah.
I can be a little more forward or direct, but it's not meant to be hurtful. It's meant to be helpful.
Yeah. Well, I've really appreciated that when we talk, because you've never bullshitted me, you know? You've said like, hey, this is going to be really difficult, or, you know, you've got to do this, or you can't do that, or whatever. And as a young dentist, you know, I've been out a decade, so I'm definitely still young in the sense of how long people practice, but having your guys' little insights have really, really helped me out on, you know, how to be political about certain things, where I need to stick my nose out, where I don't, anything. But I've told you this before many times in person, but I want to bring that up, that I appreciate how you have been like, no bullshit with me.
Well, it's been easy for me. It's a pleasure because to me, you and your partner do it the right way. You do the right things. I never hear anything about you other than positives. It's a pleasure to help somebody like you out. I know
We
what
pay
you
those
want.
people off that say bad
Well,
things.
you've done a
Yeah.
good job. But you know, Kyle, what you've done is you've made a very clear path right from the beginning, though. Right when you left dental school and you did the what do you call it?
Residency in Brazil.
The residency in
Yeah.
Brazil. You already
Mhm.
knew when you left school what you wanted to do, and
Right.
so when you're that focused, you kind of have ear blinders on. You don't care what anybody
Mhm.
else says, right? Because what happens is we start to listen to that. And if I listened to all that stuff early on, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, because I
Yeah.
had a lot of detractors locally and a few nationally, that if I
Yeah.
listened to them, I wouldn't be where I am. But I just blocked them out and I said, I'm going to do what I want to do. Now I'm going to try
Yeah.
not to hurt anybody. I'm not going to, I'm not going to step on anybody's head to get what I want. I'm not going to do that. There are people
Yeah.
that do that, and I don't do that. And if you want to come along on the ride, that's great, because I love having friends on the ride. And if it's not what you want, that's great, but I'm going to block you out myself. I don't want to hear it. The example is, many years ago, I wanted to be a member of the American Academy of Restorative Dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't come yet, have you, Kyle?
No, I've been recommended, but I haven't been selected,
I
I
got to
guess.
get you an
But yeah.
invitation for next
Yeah.
year. It's invitation only. There's only
Yeah.
165 members. It's a closed meeting. And what happened was, these couple of guys used to make tremendous fun of me, really gave me a hard time about it. They'd say things like, why would you go to an academy like that when it's nothing but old men? Okay, so
Yeah.
I did what I had to do, and I followed the rules, and it's like a fraternity. There's rules that you have to go through to become a member, whether that's for you or not. And I became a member, and now, fast forward, it's the hottest ticket in dentistry, to where this meeting that we just had in February sold out in 8 hours when it went online.
Wow.
Which
Yeah,
is
I'm
stupid
seeing
too.
more of a younger crowd go now, which I think is
Yes,
really cool.
yes.
Just in
Oh,
the
it's
last
fantastic.
like
I love
year
it.
or two.
The
Yeah.
last probably 2 or 3 years, and it's great, because those same people come to the AED meeting in the summer, which is
Right.
something completely different, yet it's
Yeah.
awesome too, because that meeting is at a different great location. And you go to class literally from 8 to 1 in the morning, but you bring your family, because it's such a beautiful venues. So you get to hang out with your dental friends in the morning, and then your family in the afternoon.
Right.
And that's become ultra popular as well. And with all these young dentists, the infusion of enthusiasm, technology, passion, direction, it's revitalized these academies to where it's a pleasure to go and be around. I love being around youth, because I love change.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. When you're too stuck in the past, you don't like change, and you see the young dentist as being threatening to you. They're not threatening you. They're just doing what they want to do. It's you that can't move forward. That's the
a
problem.
good point. So many dentists, and this is young and old, but so many dentists get so caught in we get so stuck in our ways. And I guess that's every human, but especially dentists, right? We etch this way, we bond this way, we put on a crown this way, right? And most of us do whatever we learned in dental school, and we do that for 30 or 40 years before we retire. And it's nice when you can see people who have been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years that then take on a new treatment or a new role or a new way of doing things, because it's difficult to do.
It is. It's not an easy thing to change, right? Especially when you've been doing it a certain way. Yet, that's human nature. Is you're either, Gramsci says you're either bread or wine. Have you heard him say that?
Yeah, I have.
So Chris says you're either bread or wine. Either you're going stale, or you're becoming more worthwhile as a good bottle of wine. And you're right. You're either growing or you're dying. I mean, there's nothing in between anymore. And so I believe that it's my feeling that we should all continue to learn, that there's probably always some new ideas and path forward. And I always like to say this about technology, because we love technology. We've talked about technology too. Technology is a tool, but it doesn't take the place of knowledge, education, experience, ethics. It's not there to make you an extra buck. It's there for predictability. Now, if the predictability leads to reproducibility, which leads to profitability, I'm okay with that. But buying something to think, it's just going to make me more money, is not the way to do this. That's, in my opinion, not the way to do it. And so while we are technologically forward, we don't have everything you can think of. The truth is, I don't have a cone beam in my practice. But I know
neither
you do,
we, because we have one down the hall at another doctor's office that lets us use it.
Okay, and
so it's the best of both worlds.
But it's even better. Now, unless Chris has talked about starting to learn how to place implants. He's talked about that, which I think would be great. I'm just not, with 10 years left. I think I've got 10 years, maybe 15. There are other things I want to do, and learning to do surgery at the level, let's say you do it, is probably not going to happen for me. You know who Pat Allen is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The man is hands of gold. I've never seen grafting like
tissue graft master.
I've seen the videos of Pat, and he's a gentleman. I mean, he's just truly a gentleman. And you see him, how meticulous he is. And I said, if I started today and I did this for the next 10 years, I'd still never get as good as Pat Allen. So why even try? Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my feeling about it anyway.
So you brought up family, and it's something that you and I talk about a lot. How have you been able to have a nice home life, have a, you know, loving wife, loving daughter, be there for your family, but also be a serious businessman, be on the road a lot? How has it worked out? What are your ethics about that? What are your goals with that? How have you done it for some of us younger doctors?
That's interesting too, because whenever I was even at Seattle Study Club, I had some people come up to me and I was chatting with them, like a bunch of young dentists who had done the speaker showcase, and they're asking me about it. And I said, okay, everybody, I want you to listen to me right now. Number one, it's great to be asked. It's an ego fest. It makes you feel good. When you're there speaking, people blow you up. It's great. We all love it.
I got to show you this. And you said it's an ego fest. This is something that Christian told me about, but it says, curb your ego on my computer. Yeah. Because you get caught up in it. It becomes like because Christian told me, and sorry to cut you off, but Christian told me earlier, like, you got to be careful with this, because every time you're speaking, everybody tells you how great you are. And then, you know, you go home and you're just the guy who takes the trash out or something, you know? So you got to really keep your ego under control. And I really took that into mine when he told me that. But go on.
No, I'm gonna keep going off of that. Everything he said is correct. Tom Trinkner said that to me 24 years ago. Mm-hmm. He said, always be mindful. He said two things to me. Number one, don't let your ego explode on you. And number two, remember that as you're asking me for help, somebody's going to come up to you one day and ask you for help. And I go, that's not going to happen. Little did I know it's going to happen, which I think is really cool. Balance. Well, a couple things you need to know. First, my wife is a dentist as well. We went to dental school together. When I came out of dental school, I didn't think I was going to be a lecturer or a publisher or teach. I didn't think I was going to do that. That's not what my life path was. I didn't even know that existed in dentistry, right? Corporate dentistry, lecturing. And then, you know, I had a weird story how I got started back in 1997 speaking. I've been speaking since 1997. And it was a balance, right? I spoke a lot early in my career. I don't speak nearly as much as I used to. I used to go out 40 times a year. Now I'm down to probably 10 or 12 a year. And what happened was, as my daughter got older, I wanted to be around more, because you've only got, the way I look at this, Kyle, I got one shot at this. I've got one daughter, you have one son. I'm probably not having any more kids. This is it. If I don't, you know, I feel bad for her right now, although she's doing really great. She's learning from home. Yeah. Like everybody is right now. She's doing really well with it, but she's a social animal like I am. And so she doesn't go to school right now, but she's doing fine. And, you know, I want to be there. There are days, you know, my daughter plays on the volleyball team and the tennis team. In fact, I'm going to say one thing. I normally don't do this, but my daughter, as a freshman, and now she's a sophomore in high school, she plays on the varsity girls tennis team for her high school. Wow. She's a good player. Yeah. I mean, she's a good player. And so what I'm able to do is structure my schedule to when she's playing a home match, I'm able to go there at 4 o'clock on a day and watch her play tennis. And I have to tell you that for me, you know, it doesn't make me a dollar. It's not about the money. However, I also know that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, my daughter will remember that her parents were able to come to her matches. And then when she has children, she gets to tell her children, you know, my mom and dad used to come watch me play high school tennis. And I just think at the end of the day, you strip out the titles, you strip out the money, and what do you have left is the relationships that you have with your wife, your children, your significant other. And I've always said this as well, and this is brutal for some people. People don't remember you for dentistry, man. They really don't. I can name 3 or 4 people who have died in our profession. Nobody talks about them anymore. Nobody cares. Because at the end of the day, it's what have you done for me lately? And then once you get what you need from them, we live in a society up until recently that you just kind of move on. So what's the only thing that's holding you together? What's grounding you? And for me, it's my family. It's my family, just like you. Just like you.
Yeah, well, I had I had this realization. I think the first time I had this realization was when I got out of dental school, and I had gone through a bad breakup. So I got out of dental school, I was single, and I was making more money than I'd ever made, you know, making like 10 grand a month, which was like so much money, right? And I was like, this is amazing. But I didn't have anyone to really share it with. You know, I was single, I didn't have kids, I didn't have a wife. And I kind of realized all this success didn't mean anything because I didn't have anyone to share it with. And then I had that second realization when I had my son. And that was when I think my lecturing was really taken off about 3 years ago. And I was getting so many requests and I wanted to go to all of them. You know, I can make good money. Again, my ego. And my wife kind of said like, whoa, 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 whoa. You got to be here. We need you here. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care if we need to live in a smaller home, if we need to get rid of our cars, if we need to not go out to dinner. She said, I just want you here. And I was like, well, it's
Your
nice
wife
to have someone like that, right?
Well, first of all, your wife is beautiful, but more important than that,
Thank you.
that is the most intelligent thing I've heard somebody say in a long time. She gets it.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're going to be fine moving forward. You're going to be there for your family, for your wife and your son. And you're right. You know, the thing is also, he's going to grow up. And how old is he now, Kyle? He's
3.
He's 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got really, when they become teenagers and they can drive and they turn 16, you don't see them as much as you think.
Right.
So really, you've got 13 years left, which is going to go like this. So spend as much time as you can with him, which I know you do. If you post it,
Yeah,
it's
I do.
lovely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then 16, he's going to have a Porsche, right?
Yeah, he'll probably have mine. It'll be vintage by then.
Well, that's funny. We'll talk about that in a second. And it will be. What a cool car to drive.
Yeah.
And then you won't see him as much for 2 years. And then he goes away to college. And then it's you and your
Yeah.
wife. So you've got to have a great relationship. So my daughter, so now real life again, you know, we could talk about dentistry and all that kind of stuff. But the real life is my daughter was supposed to get her driver's license in July, but the DMV is closed. And we don't know if that's going to get pushed out. So we don't even know if she's going to get her driver's license when she was supposed to get it.
Oh yeah.
Which then, you know, I've got a Tesla. I'm a Tesla freak.
Yeah.
And I bought my Tesla 6 years ago when they first came out, and I'm going to give my Tesla to her. But because we're also not working right now, I was supposed to order literally this month or next month my new Tesla X.
Uh-huh.
But I have no income coming in right now.
Yeah,
Same, which means that the extra car payment I don't need, which means she can't get the car until life's up back again. So see the trickle down effect. Now, of course, giving a car to a daughter is, in the grand scheme of things, is not a big deal, but it affects every different level of our lives. What's going on right now? Every different level of our life. And there is another side to this, though. We're going to come out on the other end of it. And unfortunately, we tend to forget things pretty quickly, but I hope we remember this time in our life. We're eating home more. We're exercising more. We're spending more time together.
With our families,
With our families. I'm actually a little more productive at the house in lieu of not doing chairside dentistry. I don't know if it's more productive or not. I've got a better handle of my numbers of my practice because we're all applying for the PPP loan.
Right.
You know, on the other end of this, there'll be some good and bad, but life will go back. We will get it back. And just remember these times that, you remember the time we were off for 6 weeks or whatever it is. Hopefully it's just 6 weeks and go from there, right?
Yeah. So what would be your advice for new doctors? Like, let's say they graduated last year. Is it CE? Is it mentorship? Is it working for a DSO to get your speed up? Is it what's your, like, let's say 3 tenets, or what would you recommend that they do?
I have, you know, a lot of people have when it comes to opinions, you know how everybody feels about opinions.
They're like assholes. Everybody.
They are
them,
like
right?
assholes. Yeah. Everyone's got one. You better not have 2. But when it comes to, let's take the DSO question. I don't have a problem as much with DSOs. The issue I have is the good part about DSOs is you go into a place, they do the business for you, you go ahead and produce dentistry, you get your speed up, you see a lot of dentistry, and if you follow it over the next year or two, you can see what works and what doesn't work, and you learn on the process, right? My suggestion to them is learn how the business works, because they don't teach that to you in dental school.
Right.
Okay. The problem becomes for DSOs, I think, are twofold. And I'm not negative DSO, but what I hear sometimes is the companies make you do things that are maybe considered to be unethical, either over treatment or doing things beyond your scope. That's where you got to say, maybe this is not for me anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a personal decision. And if the DSOs don't make you do that, then that's okay too.
Yeah, I worked for some DSOs my first year out of school, and I didn't like the experience, but looking back on it, I learned a lot. I learned what I liked, what I didn't like, because I worked for, like, at one time, because I was going around doing implants for people, I worked for 10 different offices at one time. So I knew every practice management software. I knew every type of suture, you know, different types of assistants, chairs, hand pieces, what I liked, what I didn't like, so that when Matt and I got our office, I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. So that was really nice. I did have some people try to influence me to do unethical treatment, and that was really the hard part. But I think, and I've said this on other lives, is to make your mistakes the first year out before it's your practice, kind of thing, and learn what you like and what you don't like.
And I think that's a great opportunity to do it, right? I mean, my first year out, I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, but when I first came down to Florida 27 years ago, it was infested, and I do call it infested, with, at the time, HMO dentistry. This is way before DSOs. And I worked for 2 different offices my first year, and I literally came home one day after about 6 months, and I said to my wife, Isabel, I think I'm going to quit. And she goes, oh, you're going to quit the office? I said, no, I think I'm going to quit dentistry. And she says, what? We graduated. We have this debt from dental school, which, by the way, wasn't a lot of money back then compared to today, which is driving now. Well, right? Yeah, it's awful. And I feel for all the young dentists right now. And I said, I think I'm going to go to law school, because what I'm seeing is not what I had envisioned, right? So I finally said to myself, okay, I need to make a change. So I took literally a month off, and I found an associateship that was more of a fee-for-service structure, where the dentist eventually sold me his practice, and I was able to buy him out, and I got to transform that practice into the practice that it eventually became. Against people telling me I shouldn't do that, by the way, who really didn't have my best interest at heart. They just didn't want me to succeed. When I came to town, I'm going to tell you a quick story too. I make nothing up. When I first came to town in Palm Beach Gardens, I was a voracious learner. I wanted to learn more after school than when I was in dental school. Yeah, like dental school, you get the piece of paper, and that entitles you to start learning. And I wanted to learn at my own pace, right, without the frickin' exam. I mean, that's the thing that bothered me always, was the exam. So I started learning and learning and learning, taking so much CE, it was crazy. And then I asked around, I said, hey, is there a local study club? And every specialist who pimped me to send to them, because they knew I didn't take teeth out, I didn't do endo, I didn't put implants in, I didn't do ortho, you know, and everybody would take me out to lunch. And then I asked, hey, is there a study club around here? And you should have seen their face. They would be like, yeah, anyway, you want to, they would tell me, you might want to order this sushi. It's like really good. So everybody changed the subject. Okay, fast forward about 6 months. I get wind that there's a study club meeting in my building, but downstairs at somebody else's office. And I go, oh, really? I said, is it new? They go, I don't know anything about it. I go, well, can I come? They go, well, I guess. And I walk in through the door, and there were probably 25 dentists there. And of the 25 dentists, at least half of them were the specialists who lied to my face and said there was no study club.
Wow.
Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Yes, true story.
So what do you think it was? They didn't want you to get better? They didn't want you to be part of the group?
They didn't, obviously they didn't want me part of the group. I was the young dentist in town. I had already started to actually publish and lecture. And I think they were, quite honestly, I look back on it, I'll say it now, I think they were threatened. And, you know, but again, see, this is human nature again. So they didn't like the fact that I had youth And I didn't have experience, obviously. I didn't pretend that. But there were certain areas I did have more restorative knowledge than some of the older dentists because they were still putting amalgam in teeth. And I think it bothered them. It bothered them that I was in a national ad. It bothered them that I was already lecturing. But that's them. That's their problem. It's not my problem. You're not going to stop me. If somebody asked, what did you do with the referral pads? Needless to say, I don't refer to any of those people anymore. Yeah, and that was the end of that. I waited till a lot of younger specialists moved into town, and I moved all my work over to them. The endodontist called me up and said, why don't you send me anything anymore? He literally called me out. And I said, well, I'll tell you one thing. In the 10 years I've been working with you, you haven't sent me one unattached patient. Not one. Right. And number two, you know, if you want to give me a gift at Christmas, which is unnecessary, and I actually don't even need gifts anymore in my life, you might want to ask around and find out that I don't drink vodka. I actually drink Jameson whiskey, which lets you know how much he cares about the relationship. See, and my thing is, I don't even want a gift. I don't need that. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to hang out with that we can go get a drink, or when you come to town, we have a good time. And that's all I really need. And it's just it's a weird thing. So that's number one. I got way off subject from the DSOs. So the DSOs are not bad for me. Number two is take as much education as you can possibly afford and then add 10% and take even 10% more. You can't lose with education in life. You can always win with education. It's always a great thing, education. And then hang out with people who think like you. The people in dentistry who don't think like you, who are in it for the wrong reasons, either for money or don't understand technology or don't know what your path is, not going to follow you on your path. Thank you very much. Time for me to move on and hang out with the people who are going to make you better, not the people who are going to drag you down.
Yeah. And I think social media has made that much easier now. The digital aspect of our profession has made that so much easier now that we can get together with like-minded people. And, you know, like how I met you guys in person, but we've kept in touch remotely and we've worked together remotely and that kind of stuff and referred patients and things. So
somebody asked,
it's so much, it's easier now. Yeah.
Oh, it is. And Kyle, I see a lot of questions popping up here, and we haven't talked about it. Somebody said, what percentage of your income should you put into CE? I did a good 10% of my income at least every year. The first couple of years was probably 20. It was 20. It had to be 20. And my wife would be like, you're going where again? Where are you doing? How much is that costing? Didn't you just go this year? But you know what? It's not just what they taught me. It's what they taught me what to do. It's also what they taught me what not to do. Yeah, and that's true. That is even more powerful. Some of the best dentistry I've ever done is no dentistry. I get rid of the patient. I realize there's red flags or their expectation level. I can't meet their expectation. We're not communicating on the same level. All of those things, I say to myself, I'm not going to be able to give them what they want. Go somewhere else because I know I'm going to be chasing my tail. So I don't.
That's a hard lesson to learn. And I think that people coming out of school that are in a lot of debt, like how I still am with my dental school debt, it's hard to say no to these cases. And for me, I had to learn by making my mistakes. I had to say, yes, of course I'll do your case. And then I get into it and I'm like, oh my God, this lady or this guy is just insane. What am I doing?
Well,
Give the money back.
Football? Are you into college football?
No.
Okay. So besides rock music, that we're
we have in touch.
We have big time in common because I'm so envious of your prior life. You have no idea. Because before I became a dentist, I wanted to be a rock star or an astronaut. So, geez, it went right out of my head. Oh shoot, it went right out of my head. Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was going to see. That's what happens. You're older. You lose a stream of consciousness.
I was talking about patients that we need to learn from, make our mistakes. You know, saying no to dentistry is what we were originally talking about.
Yeah,
and that comes back to you.
It's a very, very important point. The best dentistry is sometimes the dentistry I don't do. And it's hard to walk away from it when you see the dollar amount. But I'm telling you, if you walk away from some of these cases, what it does is frees you up to take the other cases that will come in behind it. And that's just the way it is. You know,
it's true.
I truly believe that. It's not just lip service. I want to mention one other thing. You know, I spoke up at DIA.
Yeah.
have you gone to DIA or spoke at DIA yet?
No, I was speaking both times, but yeah, I hope to go this year, if possible.
Yeah, well, if it's going to happen, and hopefully
Yeah,
it does.
we'll see.
I spoke in December. They gave me the opportunity to speak, and up until a couple of weeks beforehand, I didn't know what I was going to speak on. It's funny, it's the conversation we're having right now for young dentists. Yeah. And I decided to do a lecture on my path, and I forgot what I called it. It was something like, I'll have to look it up, but I gave this presentation not knowing what the effect would be. I really had no idea. And afterwards, I can't begin to tell you how much interaction I had with young dentists. It blew me away. It was actually called The Road Less Traveled, A Journey of Education, right? Okay. And I went through my path and journey, and I said some truths, and I said some hard things that some of the audience actually did not like. That's okay. You're never going to be liked by everybody. That's another lesson to learn.
I've had this, and we've talked about this too. After my Seattle Study Club lecture.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there with you. I've seen what they do to you, and I don't particularly care for it. But to be fair, I'm not going to use any names. I'm not going to say the person, but let me tell you the other person that came out on was, I saw somebody go after you, which I didn't like, because it's so easy to sit back and to criticize somebody. But if you think it's easy to get on a stage with 500 dentists, who I consider to be a lot of them better than me, and then I have to go present something to them, that's not an easy thing to do. Everybody on here, I hope they know who Iñaki Gambarina is. To me, Iñaki
I talk about him on almost every Instagram live.
So my story with Iñaki is, I think he's the best dentist on the planet. Now, the best composite dentist is Newton Fall. I call him the Michelangelo of composites. But when it comes to kind of what we do combined, surgery and restorative,
perio-pros, right?
Perio-pros, trained at the UW program. I actually went to visit him in San Sebastian.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
I did. It was incredible. I think he's the best on the planet. And Iñaki shows his technique of doing the tuberosity graft. Sorry, somebody was trying to call me. And it's meticulous, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, because now you're starting to see a lot more people do it, by the way. And the same person went after Iñaki and said, that's right. And the same person went after Iñaki and said, show me the research. And I remember Iñaki said, I can't show you the research because every time I turn it in to get published, I get denied. It's a vicious circle, right? You're not going to publish my papers, so I have nothing to publish.
Interesting.
I've only got my cases to show you. And the same person went after him over and over again. And I finally said, enough. Leave him alone. The guy is unbelievable. His technique works. Now, maybe it's a difficult technique to learn. You know more about it than me. It is a difficult technique. But it can be done. Don't tell me it can't be done, because he's doing it. Quit going after the people who are teaching us. That doesn't help me. My thing is, if you're going to come to me with a problem, you can only come to me with a solution for the problem. Otherwise, you're just clogging up the works.
I get in trouble a lot of times with my wife on that. She comes to me with a problem and I try to give her a solution. And oftentimes she just wants me to listen.
Oh, okay. That's a different story. Well, we're talking about professional and personal. I would listen a little bit more.
That's my problem. I talk too much and listen too little. She's looking over at me right now.
She really won't tell us about that. She's full of wisdom. She's full of wisdom. Good for you. Good for you. I really, for me right now, after that, back to that presentation real quick, one more thing. I had some people come up to me afterwards, and when they walked up to me, I thought, uh-oh, here it comes. They came up to me and they go, you know what I really loved about you? And I go, what? And they go, you said things from the podium that nobody else is willing to say. And I said, well, let me tell you the reason why. Because I sit in the back of the room like anybody else. I still take 200 CE hours a year. But a lot of people are concerned to say it because they're afraid of the ramification. They won't get into an academy. They won't get asked to speak at a certain meeting. They won't pick up that extra lecture. And you know what? I don't care. I'm at that point. I'm in the places I want to be.
Yeah.
I've spoke to where I want to spoke. If you want to give me 1 or 2 less lectures, okay, I'll walk the beach on Friday. I'll take a tennis lesson. It doesn't make a difference. So I like to call it, and this gets, follow with me. It's very similar to the mafia, right? You have the Godfathers, and we know who the Godfathers are, right?
Yeah.
They're the Coyces, the Spears, the Tarnows, the
Michael
Christians,
Cohen.
the Cohen, Michael Cohen. Actually, I do call him my Godfather. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you've got the made men underneath them,
Uh-huh.
and then underneath them are the wise guys, right?
Okay.
Who gets whacked? The wise guys.
The wise guys, yeah.
The wise guys. So when you're a wise guy, you can't say those things because you'll get whacked out.
Yeah.
Right? But when you become a made man, then you can say what you want because they can't whack you anymore.
Yeah. It's a true thing, and it's a shame that we can't get more people to start talking their truths instead of doing this podium dentistry, you know? And I think that's what people harp on Iñaki about, is that he does podium dentistry, which is why I love that he started adding in the iPhone videos. Yeah, because people couldn't believe. They said, no, there's no way. You're just a good photographer. So we started doing the iPhone videos. I love that.
Okay, so Kyle, let's jump into that real quick. I went to his office.
Yeah. And
I saw him practice. I saw him practice. He's got the 2 soft boxes right next to the dental chair.
Sitting there, yeah.
They're sitting there. It's actually, that's what I did too. I came home, I bought 2 soft boxes sitting next to my chair. I do the same thing now, right? I just follow what he did. And the woman who's working on was a single central on an implant. And I go, what's going on with that? And we walked outside.
Was she a dentist?
No, but she was a dentist's wife from 3.5 hours away in Spain, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, you know, in his accent, and the guy, he looks like he's out of GQ, right? With the hair and the look and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
the Europeans really have it made with
he's
style,
got it, the whole thing, right? Europeans and the Brazilians. So
yeah.
He says, look, he goes, everybody sends their shit to Iñaki, right? And I saw it there. So you're right. But I saw him do it. And in adjunct to that, he starts taking the iPhone videos. And I think people misunderstand why he does the video. Yeah. People say, oh, that video doesn't look as good as some of the other video. You're missing the point. He's showing you in real life on an average video camera. Well, back then, 2 years ago, it's actually gotten a lot better. This is what it really looks like in real life, not blown up on a 3x1 lecture with a 12 million lumen projector. We're not talking about that. We're talking about real life. And he's unreal to me. He's unreal. Yeah. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
But then again, so are you and your partner. So
Iñaki, someone's saying, who is Iñaki? So it's Iñaki Gambarina from San Sebastian, Spain. Inaki Gambarina or Gambarina. I don't know which way you say it.
Yeah, it's Gambarina. It's Gamboreana.
Yeah. He's he does periopros. He fixes a lot of anterior implant cases that have gone wrong. Tissue grafts, not as much bone grafts, but bone grafts. Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's it. It's otherworldly. I remember when I first saw him, got to be at least 10 years ago, I almost fell out of my chair. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was that good. It was so good, right? Oh, there's Sonny. There's my man Sonny. So and I follow these people, and you know, they're my guides.
On. Hey, Human. Human Zarenkelk. Human Zarenkelk. You know Human from Seattle Study Club.
Oh, Human, absolutely. And I saw Effie's on as well.
Yeah.
Effie did a great. I don't know if you saw Effie's today with Rachel McKay at Vivacar, and they did something for social media today. They did a nice job today.
Oh, good.
Really nice job.
My technician is on. Someone was asking if we're still open. My office has been closed for 2.5 weeks. How about your office? 2.5
weeks.
Yeah. So
no,
I've been working from home.
Well, like California, we have a mandate in Florida. It's May 8th. We are shuttered till. Of course,
no matter what.
The gray area is they said you can see emergencies.
Yeah.
A temporary veneer off is not an emergency to me. It's an inconvenience. You can disagree with me, but you know, if somebody has a need of a root canal, my endodontist goes in for 3 hours in the morning. He literally sees about 3 people a day as an emergency. My oral surgeon goes in. He's been doing emergency extractions, INDs, and that's about it. Nothing else.
Yeah. So we've got maybe 10 more minutes. Do you have anything specific that you've, oh, Human saying he's never been busier, the cleanest garage.
I was gonna say, my closet looks great. My desk looks incredible.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat, doing all of our chores around our house that we've been meaning to do for the last few weeks. Let's talk about, like I said, we've got maybe 10 more minutes. Dental wise, what are some new techniques that you've brought in the last year or two, whether it's techniques or technology? What's something that you've done differently?
Well, I think a couple things. I constantly trying to add applicable technology when it adds to the case. So that Bellis 3D app,
yep,
is really cool. I've added that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what else. You know, I've got 5 digital scanners. I'm kind of a nut about.
Yeah, you've got like the museum of the history of digital scanners.
Yeah, I know. It's not.
You've got from the first iTero to the last iTero, and you get
No,
the
actually, we
free
finally
shit.
we finally got rid of the first iTero.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And we got rid of the second one. We've got a 2.9, which actually Chris loves the 2.9.
Okay.
And we've got an Element. Of course, I want the 5D. You saw they released the 5D,
I have the Element.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but did you see the 5D got released last week?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they did. They released the 5D.
Oh, cool.
Who knows when anybody's actually going to be able to afford to get that? But
yeah. Great time to release a $40,000.
That's what I said.
I don't know how much it is, but yeah.
Although what's really cool about them is they acquired Exocad. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so you want to talk about forward technology? Let's talk about them for a second.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means now?
What do you mean?
Well, with the acquisition of Exocad by iTero, what that allows them to do moving forward?
Oh, I think it allows them to integrate more restorative, the whole kind of DSD way of thinking into the like pre-restorative ortho planning in a better way.
And correct. And the next adjunct to that would be design software in the scanner itself, so that you could send it to a printer, send it to a mill, chairside mill.
Yeah. It's where we're all going towards. You know, we're all going towards this. I always say the one-click crown, right? Which needs AI as well, but going from getting all the data, automatically putting it together and saying, go, right? It finds the margin, designs it, sends it to your printer or your miller, prints it, you take it out, polish or glaze or do whatever you need to do and put it in.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I know your Pearl company. You've got some really cool things. I love your presentation on that. See, I love thinkers. Oh, it's really cool. And that's exactly where it's going to go. I have to tell you that, you know, they're in a battle with 3Shape. And I've got a 3Shape Trios as well.
Yeah, I have both.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I love that process as well. Like Naz does an unbelievable job, right? I don't know if Naz he's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest here. If you really take a look at the dental companies, Dentsply Sirona tried to merge that together. They've had some hiccups. They seem to be finally getting some solid footing. They have some solid leadership now, right?
Yeah, I think when they opened up the platform, it really helped.
It did.
And it became less
closed
off.
Closed.
Yeah.
But if you really take a look at the dental companies, if you take a look at what Invisalign did by acquiring iTero those years ago, and digitizing the process from the beginning, and now adding Exocad, I don't know of a dental company that's done an acquisition better than Invisalign at this point. I really don't. I think they're amazing.
Yeah, the only thing I think a lot of people are worried about is because Exocad is known as such a friendly company in the sense of being very open, that they worry that it may become more closed off. And I've talked to Exocad, and I know I talked to the president recently. Actually, I talked to him a few days before the acquisition happened, and then I talked to him a few days after the acquisition happened, and he said, no, we will stay open. You know, that's our customer base really appreciates that. So I hope that they do.
I hope so too, because it's a terrific product. I've played around with it, right? I don't do the design myself because I don't mill chairside. I scan everything, send it to my partner labs. Yet, when my answer is yet, you know, we're talking about new things. I'd love to acquire a chairside mill. Maybe
I thought you guys did you guys try one? I thought you guys had the Ivoclar.
No, the PM1?
Yeah.
No, we
Okay.
were not in the initial alpha test group.
Okay.
And actually, this is one of those times I'm glad I wasn't.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, we'll leave it at that. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be great. My real question, though, Kyle, back to you is, does the implementation of chairside milling really catch on, or will it be superseded at some point, maybe faster than we think, by printing restorations?
I think you're exactly right. I think that's what's going to happen. It may take a while.
Matt, look
Kyle,
at
is that you? My
Matt.
partner comes on trolling me. That's what he should do, actually, because
When was the last time you actually?
he
When was
hasn't
the last
seen
time you
me
saw
for a
Matt?
few weeks, so he
I was
doesn't
going to say.
recognize all this. Yeah. Someone called me California Jesus on here. I'll take that as a compliment. Um,
Oh, that's
yeah,
funny.
I think that with printing, it may take a while, but once it happens, milling will go away. That's not, maybe not fully, but I think a lot of it will go away.
I'm with
Yeah.
you, and I think once we find a printer that is able to print restorations rather rapidly. Now, whether you still
Yeah.
have to bake them or not, I mean, we don't really know, but then all of a sudden you're going to see milling just tank.
Yeah.
You're going to see printing explode because remember, it's an additive process. It's less wasteful. It
Right.
potentially could be faster.
Yep.
That's that inflection point, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
going to just explode. He was going to say implant Jesus. See, Sonny?
I'm gonna change my Instagram handle
That's
to
good.
Implant
Implant
Jesus.
Jesus. That's awesome. I love that. That's great. So
So
those sorts of,
if we do get cut off, we'll come back on because I don't think we're done, but it cuts us off after an hour. So
that's okay. Whatever
I
you,
know we can talk forever.
oh, I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
I could keep talking because you're so easy to talk to. I love hanging out with you, bro. I
Oh,
really do.
thanks. Thanks.
I really do.
Yeah,
Whenever
we
we're
always have
together,
a
we
good
always
time.
have a good time. I
We
know.
do.
It's like we just pick up right from the last conversation.
It's true.
You know, and so I think those are the kind of new things that in my practice, you know, I actually think digital photography
Mm-hmm.
has gotten a lot easier recently.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
cameras have gotten better. I think the soft boxes that you can acquire now are
Yeah.
less expensive, less cumbersome.
More people are making them. There's more opportunities to
More
buy them
opportunity.
from smaller companies or more
I agree.
affordable companies.
I
Yeah.
think that's great. You know, the iPhone cameras, the HD video on it are
Yep.
so good with a $100 ring.
Yep.
Setup is
The
very
ring I'm using
inexpensive.
right now. Yeah.
The ring you're using is great. See,
Yeah.
I should have had my ring here. I apologize for it being so dark. I know, but I haven't gone to the office.
Hey, that's okay. I know. My good microphone is sitting at the Pearl office, and was doing interviews today and hoping that this sounds okay. So
No,
yeah.
you sound great. I hope you probably sound better than me. I'm trying to think of what else that we have in the practice that's been great. You know, as far as dental materials go, just to go back to dentistry I used to say that 10 years ago, I didn't need a new dental material, a new cement. And the truth is now, when you incorporate, and a lot of people feel differently about this, so you have to be careful with this. I still use a ton of Emax lithium disilicate press materials.
So do we.
Okay. I adhesively bond every single one of those.
So do we.
There are people advocating using resin modified glass ionomer cements. They'll tell you they've never had a problem with it. I can honestly tell you, since the day I started using when it was called Empress 2, I have never traditionally cemented one of those restorations.
Nice.
I've always adhesively bonded them because it's true dental ceramic.
Right.
Now, do I do zirconia? I do. I do use zirconia. What zirconia has allowed us to do is use a traditional cement. And so by utilizing a traditional resin modified glass ionomer cement on a crown that's almost unbreakable, which inherently has its own problems, by the way.
Yeah,
because it's almost
can be too stiff. Yeah, so the tooth breaks. Yeah.
But you know what the thinking is there, right? People don't mind when the tooth breaks because then the patient shows up with the crown with the tooth in it and they go, can you re-cement this? Can you re-cement your crown? And you go, no, wait a minute. That's not my crown. That's your crown. And that's your tooth in your crown.
Yeah.
You can't cement it back in. No, you have to take that out and put an implant in. So dentists don't mind that. All we've done is change the mode of failure, and we put it back on the patient now.
It's
because
true.
typically the ceramic doesn't break now. The zirconia doesn't break.
Yeah. Well, Pascal always said this one expression, and I know Matt knows it by heart, but he said, when you get in a car accident and you get in an accident, and the front of your car is destroyed, but you're alive, that's a success. We need to have our patients realize, okay, if we put a restoration on and the restoration failed and the pulp is still alive, this is a success.
Yes.
Right? This is something we can fix.
That's correct.
It's difficult to get that into patients' minds because they think that everything lasts forever. And I think that comes with the sales aspect of dentistry, and people want to sell people. But when we're honest with our patients, we can discuss, why that just saving the tooth is the thing we want to think about the most.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. I'm not going to repeat it. 100%. And I think what's going to happen for both of you, it's the only thing I can say now that I never used to be able to say, is because I've been doing it for so long, I've got cases in the mouth now that are 20 plus years old.
Wow.
Right. And because I was so meticulous and I was a nut, people thought I was a nut about what I was doing. I would bond veneers in under a rubber dam 20 years ago, and people think, what are you doing?
Yeah. They still wonder why we do that.
They still today. But now I get to say, the reason I'm a nut is because look at this case, and the patient will say, well, that's nice. I go, you like it? They go, yeah. I go, it's 19 years old. Yeah. And all of a sudden they start to think, and I said, is that what you'd like? Something that could potentially last that long, potentially? And like, yeah. I go, well, then you have to understand a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm a nut. I'm very meticulous. I'm anal retentive. You can call me whatever you want to call me. There's a certain process involved. You can't rush the process. If you
it's going to be more expensive. It's going to take longer.
And that's the other thing. And if you're going to shop my price, I'm going to tell you right now, don't even bother coming back, because I guarantee you 75% of the dentists in town will undercut my price just to get your case. But what I want you to ask them is one thing. I want you to ask them to pull out 5 cases that are over 15 years old, and they can't do it.
Wow. I can't do it because I've only been practicing for 10.
See, but think about it. If you say 10 years, though. You say 10 years now. And even then, they can't do that, right? They can't do it. I had a woman come to me
I've got my longest onlay that I did when I was a junior in dental school with Pascal when we were doing it together in the clinic. So that's 12 years. That's my longest onlay.
That's awesome, though.
And
it's
awesome. Ultra thin, 0.6 milled composite on a crossbite, endo tooth, second molar. It's like everything bad you could think of. So I made it.
However, when you really think about it, I used to do a tremendous amount of composite inlays and onlays. Mm-hmm. And the way I always thought about it was, when you're bonding those to place, you only have 2 moduluses of elasticity there. Yes. You have the tooth structure, and then you have the cement, the composite, along with the composite, which are roughly the same, right? Right. When you're doing ceramic with composite with tooth, you have 3 mode of failures potentially. Yeah. So I had no debonds with those. And if anything, I didn't mind the wear on them, because I'd rather have you wear down the restoration than either fracture the opposing tooth or break the existing tooth structure, right? I mean, that's my thinking long term. And now these cases come back in again, 15, 18 years later. And some of them are worn down, but the tooth structure's intact. Yep.
The driver's still alive, right?
That's the key, right? You want them home alive.
Yeah.
You want them home alive.
Well, I think that's a good end to today. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about like ethics, family life, being a speaker, a little bit about having a partner. I think that'd be another good one to have at some point, is partner life, and finishing on some technology and techniques.
Materials, techniques, rubber dam. I saw Sonny just said rubber dam is life. He's right. Allie, hey, how's it going, brother? Yeah. You're right. All of those things matter. I believe in them. We believe in them. It's about Miguel Stanley's slow dentistry. I love that.
Love it.
Love it. So I'd love to come back and do this with you again. I'm going to get my ring light here at the house, though.
Good.
If we do this in the next couple of weeks, I'll do that. Good. And we could talk about partnerships. And
that'd be great.
I would love to do this again with you. I hope you and your family stay safe.
Thanks so much.
It's great to spend time with you, brother. It really is.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun. Let's do it again. I'll text you.
All the best, man.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.